a hearse with a body in it went off the mountain right there. I'm back with more crazy accidents on the Tail of the Dragon. I have a store there, grew up there, so I see it all. I've led thousands of people through thousands of miles and hundreds of guided drives and rallies. It's entertaining and exciting. It is well known for a reason. This is really one of the greatest roads anywhere in the world, but also known for being the most dangerous. So the Dragon can definitely bite you if you're not prepared. I was leading a rally at the time, so I didn't see the actual accident happen. And it was a group of Ferraris and then a handful of Porsches. A Carrera GT was there. There were some cool cars in that group. But one of the most famous turns on the Dragon, a lot of these corners and turns have a nickname. One of the most fun and most famous is called Gravity Cav. Is properly named because it'll put your butt in the seat. You'll pull some serious G's on this corner. There is a road sign alerting you saying dip. This Ferrari that was with the Ferrari and Porsche group, I guess he was going through a little too hot and he ended up completely flipping and landing upside down on his roof. But thankfully, he walked away completely without a scratch. So that's a nasty little turn. It's bit a lot of people. Upside down, that's probably the worst that I've seen there. But luckily, he ended up okay with that. This is off of the Dragon, which for those who haven't been, the Dragon is a great road, but the whole region is just amazing road after amazing road after amazing road. We were on a way more remote than the Dragon country back road, and a guy was following me that I just recently met from Florida, who was in a 997 Porsche. He was in a 18-year-old car. He was from Florida, only had like 30,000 miles. You know, it was a Florida car. We come around a couple hot corners. First corner has the sign with the little less than sign. You know, the more of those, the sharper the turn is. And we came around one of those that had two of those signs. And then the next one, it was equally as sharp, but there were no signs there. And so I look in my rear view to check on him, knowing it was pretty hot. And I see his headlights in my rear view just go off the side of the mountain. So obviously turn around to go check on him, make sure he's okay. And he fell a good 40 feet down the mountain and hit a tree and stopped. And he had some bruised ribs. Luckily, he was fine. We were so far out in the country with no cell service anywhere near us that, I don't know, maybe 5 miles before that is the oldest Texaco you've ever seen in your life with like analog pumps, and it is country. And we go use their landline phone to call wrecker service, tow truck. When he's pulling the car out, he says that he's pulled about 30 cars out from that same spot. And he said the reason the signs were on the curve prior was because a hearse with a body in it went off the mountain right there. And that caused them to put up the little arrows that you've got a sharp curve coming up here. We looked at his car afterwards and then realized his tires were 10 years old. On these kind of roads, your tires are everything. You can drive around in Florida or Oklahoma or these flat states on old tires, and as long as the tread's good, you're going to be okay. But you can't take that in the mountains. That rubber breaks down over time, and after 5 years, we say those tires are no good. I've been back on that road several times since, and they put those little arrows right there where he went off too. On one of my private club drives that I do, there was a guy that had a just pristine Resto Mod Camaro, early 70s split bumper. If I could design one, that would have been it. It was big brake kit and deep dish wheels, roll cage, LSX engine. It was built for the track. It was pretty well known in the Resto Mod community. And in our drives, we communicate with walkie-talkies because there's no cell service anywhere near the Dragon. And we are on the Cherahela Skyway, and I can hear people radioing that he's leaking fuel. So we get to a gas stop at the end of the Skyway, and he checks it, cleans everything off, thumbs up, he was good to go. And then from there, we go back up through the Dragon. We hear these again, but hey, this time, your car's on fire. Hey man, your car's on fire. We had some people with fire extinguishers, but his car was so loud that even with the windows down, he's harnessed up, and that car's a monster, and he's not hearing it on the radio. So he just keeps on going. His 15-year-old son was on the drive with us, but had just hopped out at the last gas stop because he wanted to get in a different car because he does the YouTube videos for the car group. So he wanted to be more towards the front of the pack. I think he was riding in an M5 and getting some footage. So he luckily wasn't in the car when it went up, but he passed the overlook. There was a video out there of someone at the overlook on their phone. Look at all these cool cars go by, and oh wow, this one is on fire. It was out of the back of his car. He couldn't hear the radio, so he was maybe 200 yards, I guess, from the overlook when he finally realized it was on fire. So he pulled off there, and the Dragon was just repaved this year. Before the repave, there was a huge burn area on the asphalt, and you could see where it got some of the trees. One of my drive leaders that was helping with the group had a fire extinguisher. It was just by the time they got to it, it was too late. I think if he would have heard on the radio and he would have pulled off at the overlook, we could have got to him. He had a fire extinguisher, but at that point it was too far gone. Sad to see that gorgeous car gone like that, but he's bought another chassis and building part 2. So probably the dumbest thing that I've seen there was a young girl, looked like she was late teens, early 20s, and she's hanging out the window of what looks to be, I think it's like a Corolla or Camry, something like that. But the G's that you can pull in some of these corners, if you're in a good car with good tires, your dash will light up. You're pulling 1.5, 1.6 G's, no problem. So I guess she found out the hard way that, you don't need to be hanging out the window. So coming around the corner, thought it was cool to get some video footage and some likes, and then straight back onto the pavement. Luckily nobody ran over or anything, but still, that's about as dumb as you could possibly get. So that may be one of the dumbest accidents, issues that we've seen there. Mentioning the Dragon getting a repave this year, it completely repaved, and they expedited the work, knowing, huge tourist destination. So they would work and just do sections at a time, and then they would escort you through, and they did the work Monday through Thursday. So you could still have the traffic, the weekend traffic, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, that Friday, I'm doing my Lotus specific event. We go through a patch. There's mile marker 7 is known as Radar Corner because cops sit and run radar right there. You've got a little straightaway, and you come around there and they've got you. But there's a photography tent sitting there, and there's a handful of bikers that are sitting there waving us to slow down, giving us warning that something was going on. We expected a bike. That's usually the case when they're warning you like that, is someone's had an accident. It didn't look like there were any accidents there at the time. Later out, we found that there were several. So what happened, the paving company had some miscommunication, and between putting down the oil with one team and the next team coming through and making it work. I'm not, an engineer, don't know how the paving process works. I've never, been in construction, but they messed up. So there was visible oil in that area. And I'm taking 50 Lotuses through there. All those motorcycles that were waving us had just slid and wrecked there in front of the photography tent. So there's a lot of photos of that. And we had 2 Lotuses slide because there was so much oil. There were 17 accidents by noon in this area. The county made the Department of Transportation come and resolve this issue because that was going to lead to catastrophe. Thankfully, we did have somebody there that were giving us a warning, but even with that, when you're driving through a road that twisty and there's oil everywhere, that it didn't take much of our 50 Lotuses going through. We did have 2 that ended up having issues sliding into the guardrails there. Everybody was fine. It was just, cosmetic, those fiberglass clamshells are, but that could have been much, much worse than it was, but that was a wild scenario. So yeah, there were like 17 accidents in that one spot by lunchtime on a Friday.
Successful car purchasing is all about knowing your buying power and being able to move quickly, and the best way to do that is getting pre-qualified with Premier Financial Services. Call one of these numbers, speak to one of their representatives, fill out their application, and then you'll know exactly how much car you can buy. You'll approach a seller, tell them you're already qualified, you've got your simple lease set up from Premier Financial, and you'll be able to close very, very quickly. That's why Premier is one of the most powerful partners in the world of exotic car financing, and that's why I turn to them every time I go out and try to buy something crazy.